I'm Ariel and I'm back with a new video, and today I'm going to be doing another aesthetic video, except this time I'm going to be doing a random aesthetic generator because otherwise everything's just going to be like an goth version. And as much as I love that, I think that would probably get a little boring after a while. So I might only have time to do one, so I'm going to go through maybe like 3 or 5 of them. Alright, and the first one is Gym Overlord. I love that. I can just picture being like having little, what are those, platelets? Not platelets. Pallets? Palaces. Pauldrons. But having little shoulder pads with a bunch of gems sticking out, that would be really cool. Gothic Farmer. I mean, if that wasn't so close to cottagecore but goth, I would totally do that. Oh my gosh, and I could see it being like little overalls, like a black blouse made of like floral print. I think that would be fun. Pancake Machine, Beach Trash. It could be something very sea glass colored, like, because sea glass is glass trash. It'd be pretty cool. Skeleton Retro. That's gonna be so fun. Do like a retro style, but with like skeleton on top of it. It's like mixing my 2 favorite things, is I like retro style and skeletons. Alright, so we have our 12 aesthetics, and I'm going to do a random roll for 1 through 12 and see what I get. So we're gonna roll 2, which was Gym Overlord. Oh, that's gonna be fun. Let's see. I'm gonna get to Sketchin. First thing I thought of when I got Gym Overlord was pauldrons, but I was picturing more like epaulets with the fringe, so that's where I'm going to start. It will have tall spiky boys along the shoulder and long dangly boys around the edges with gold chain for the connectors. Of course, I need to accent the shoulder armor with body armor, so I'm going to make a corset to go with it and somehow sew gems aesthetically to it. Now, I just need to decide what color to make it. You know, I just don't know. I'm kidding. Obviously, it's going to be pink. For my materials, I have this white canvas ducking that I got a few years ago, specifically to make a corset, but never did, and a box of pink drink for the party. Then I got several strings of crystal gems in light and dark pink. While I was at the craft store, I found these pink pearl beads, and I needed them, so this is going to justify buying them. Lastly, I got many yards of gold chain for the fringe. With that, I'm ready to get started. Okay, first, I'll need a pattern for my corset. I actually recently acquired a pattern from PatternCosPatterns on Etsy. I don't normally make cosplay, but this pattern had my name on it, so I had to buy it. I start by dyeing the canvas ducking pink. Then cutting out my pieces. I used a lightweight drapery fabric for the lining, and if I had planned better, I would have dyed the lining pink as well. Actually, if I had planned better, I probably wouldn't be using drapery fabric for the lining to begin with. Now, I've never made a corset before, but I have worn them, and from my experience, what separates a corset from an oversized belt is boning. What I don't have is boning in my stash, but I do have various sizes of cording and enough buckram to make a Victorian seamstress kitty. I made a mock-up off camera and tested out the cording channels. For the adjustments, I added 2 inches to the back panels. I added a centimeter to the panel sides. Lastly, I slit the side back panel, adding a gusset to accentuate my lovely lady lumps. I think this is going to work for the most part. If all else fails, I'll have a very extra looking belt. In my final preparation, I serged all the edges of the panels to prevent fraying. Also to clean up the edges of the lining after deciding to dye the lining pink. Except for the stomach piece, which was hiding in the outer fabric and didn't get to enjoy bath time. With that, I can move on to assembling the panels. I'm not entirely sure how to add buckram interfacing, so I assembled it separately and basted it along the edges of the front piece before adding the cording channels in. For the cording channels, I begin along the edges of each panel using the seam allowance for the first channels. then building up on those channels, sculpting around the cups and the hips. Not sure if this is how it's supposed to be done, but it seemed right to me. I used 1/8 inch braided cord for the main channels and then 1/8 inch twirled cord for the hips. This ended up being an absolute nightmare. I had to use pliers to get it through, but they kept slipping. My needle wasn't big enough for the twisted cord, so I had to use a safety pin. Of course, that got crushed by the pliers, so I had to use this concoction. It took forever, and my hands were so sore afterward. It's at this stage I realized my lining isn't going to line up. If I had known, I wouldn't have been so aggressive with the pliers on the inside. Instead, I bind the edges with pink bias tape and move on. I used 8mm gold grommets. My table may look a little different, and that's because it is. I'm working on my tabletop easel to protect the soft wood of my craft table. Typically, if I have to use a hammer on anything, I will take it outside and use it on the concrete, but it's a little wet outside. So this shoddy setup will have to do. Nope, sacrificing my bathroom counter, I whip out the grommets. My anvil is just a hair too small for this size, but I can't go anywhere, so it will just have to do. I dyed 1/4 inch braided cord pink to be my corset ties. I think it turned out pretty good for my first corset, with the next step now being to cover it in gems and beads aesthetically. I ended up not using the beads on the corset, but I did use the gems, and I attached the gems by gold chain. I really like the corset, but I want to have the choice of taking the chains off if I don't want the gems on it anymore. For the shoulder pads, I didn't use a pattern, just vibes. I know I wanted it to be super stiff and rigid to hold the crystals on the top, but also molded to curve along my shoulder. So I made them in 3 pieces for shape and then sandwiched several layers together for stiffness. I ended up with a base layer of drapery lining with lightweight interfacing, then a buckram inner lining, and then a rigid layer of plastic canvas. This I cut in 1 piece, and finally, I topped all of that with canvas ducking interfaced with canvas iron-on patches on the center panel. After assembling the layers until this sandwich is good and stiff, I added 4mm gold grommets to the edges and 8mm grommets to the outer corners. I realized pretty quick that grommets aren't going to work because of the plastic canvas, so I only used the mini grommets on the corners for the chain attachment. I'm so glad I bought a pack of 5,400 gold pieces and the additional 5,400 silver pack pieces because this was the only one that had the anvil and chisel. Yay! For the fringe, I wrapped 20 gauge gold wire around each crystal, then attached a snippet of gold chain by a hoop. I alternated between light and dark crystals in a bell curve manner. That way it will be longer towards the edge and shorter towards my body. In the end, each epaulette has 13 long dangly boys. Then I connect the epaulettes together with various lengths of gold chain. I made an extra dangly boy and mounted it to the center of the longest chain because I'm feeling extra. And now I'm ready for the reveal. There you have it, another project down, and I gotta say I absolutely love how this came out. I really love this corset despite all of the headaches, or rather hand aches, that it has given me. And you know, despite how challenging it was to make it, I did really enjoy it. The thing I would do differently for the corset is I would put Probably more cording along this back channel here because it seems to crush under the weight of my back, and also make it not as long because I need more cinching room. This up here is a little too loose and I kind of would like to cinch it more, but I've already maxed it out. As far as the epaulets go, I wasn't crazy about them, but they're starting to grow on me. I definitely love this chain necklace, and the fringe is really great. Once I put the beads and the crystals on the top part and it started looking more like what I had envisioned it to, I started to really like it and it started coming together better. The plastic canvas wasn't as retaining of its shape as I thought it was going to be, even after I heated it up. I think probably I should have cut them into pieces and sewed them together as opposed to just one big piece. I also ran out of crystals to put along the back. If I were to actually wear this to something, I'd probably buy some more crystals and finish the back seam. Anyway, despite the challenges, I really loved how this set came out. I just had a lot of fun making something I wouldn't normally make for myself, and I really liked doing that aesthetic generator. I am probably going to do more of the aesthetics because that gothic farmer really appealed to me. I really want to do the retro skeleton, and I've got a lot of ideas for the retro skeleton. However, that will probably be till after December because I have the next few videos already in progress. If there is any other aesthetics that wasn't on the list that you thought I should try, please leave a comment below. Anyway, thanks for watching. If you like this video, consider liking and subscribing as I release a new video every other Sunday. And until then, you have a great day. Bye! Excuse you.
What is this? What is this?
I really like the sound these make. There you go. Like a queen. They give you my corset too, but you're a little skinnier than I am.